I hope it's set your holiday spirit right in place.
Ava, that's enough TV for tonight. Did you hear me?
Okay.
Ava,
What?
homework.
Okay.
I mean it.
All right. Marley was dead to begin with. There is no doubt whatever about that. The register of his burial was signed by the clergyman, the clerk, the undertaker, and chief mourner. Scrooge signed it, and Scrooge's name was good change for anything he chose to put his hand to. Old Marley was as dead as a doornail.
Marley was dead. This must be distinctly understood, for nothing wonderful can come of the story we are about to relate.
Scrooge knew he was dead.
Of course Scrooge knew he was dead. How could it be otherwise? Scrooge and he were partners for I don't know how many years. Scrooge was his sole executor, his sole administrator, his sole assign, his sole legatee, his sole friend, and sole mourner. Old Scrooge, though, he was not so dreadfully cut up by the sad event, but that he was an excellent man of business on the very day of the funeral, and solemnized it with an undoubted bargain.
Scrooge never painted over old Marley's name. There it stood above the warehouse door, Scrooge and Marley. Some people new to the business would call Scrooge, Scrooge, and sometimes Marley. He answered to both names. It was all the same to him.
Oh, but he was a tight-fisted hand of the grindstone, Scrooge. A squeezing, wrenching, grasping, scraping, clutching, covetous old sinner, hard and sharp as flint, from which no steel had ever struck out generous fire. Secret, and self-contained, and solitary as an old oyster. The cold within him froze his own features, nipped his pointed nose, shriveled his cheek, stiffened his gait, made his eyes red, his thin lips blue, and spoke out shrewdly in his grating voice. He carried his own temperature always about with him. He iced his office on the dog days, and didn't thaw it 1 degree at Christmas.
Nobody ever stopped him on the streets to say, "My dear Scrooge, how are you?"
No,
No beggars asked him to bestow a trifle. No children asked him what it was to o'clock.
no,
No man or woman ever once in his life inquired the way to thus and thus a place of Scrooge.
no!
upon a time, of all the good days of the year, Christmas Eve, Scrooge sat busy in his counting house. It was a cold, bleak, biting weather, foggy withal, and Scrooge could hear the people in the court outside wheezing up and down, beating their hands upon their breasts and stomping their feet on the pavement stones to warm them. The city clocks just struck 3, and it was a dark day already.
A Merry Christmas, Uncle Scrooge!
Merry Christmas!
Ah, humbug.
Christmas a humbug! You don't mean that, I'm sure.
I do. What reason have you to be merry? You're poor enough.
Well, what reason have you to be dismal? You're rich enough.
Ah, humbug.
Oh, don't be angry, Uncle.
What else can I be when I live in such a world of fools as this? Merry Christmas. Out on Merry Christmas. What's Christmas time to you but a time for paying bills without money? A time for finding yourself a year older but not an hour richer? A time for balancing your books and having every item in them presented dead against you? If I can work my will, every idiot who goes about with Merry Christmas on his lips should be boiled with his own pudding and buried with a stake upon him through his heart.
Uncle.
Nephew, keep Christmas in your own way and let me keep it in mine.
Keep it? Ah, but you don't keep it.
Let me leave it alone then. Much good may it do you. Much good it has ever done you.
Well, there are many things by which I might have derived good, from which I have not profited, and Christmas among the rest. I believe Christmas to be a good time, a kind, forgiving, charitable, pleasant time, when men and women seem to open their shut-up hearts freely and really think of each other as though they were fellow passengers to the grave. Therefore, Uncle, though it has never and will never put a scrap of gold or silver in my pocket, I do believe it has done me good, and I say, God bless it!
Let me hear another sound from you, and you'll keep your Christmas by losing your situation. You're quite a powerful speaker, sir. I wonder you don't go into Parliament.
Oh, don't be cross, Uncle. Hey, come dine with us tomorrow. The why? The why?
Why did you get married?
Because I fell in love.
Because you fell in love. Good afternoon.
Nay, Uncle. You never gave that as a reason for not coming to see me before. Now why give it as a reason for not coming now?
Good afternoon.
I want nothing from you. I ask nothing of you. Why cannot we be friends?
Good afternoon.
I am sorry, with all my heart, to find you so resolute. But I'll keep my Christmas humor to the last. So, a Merry Christmas, Uncle Scrooge,
Good afternoon.
and a Happy New Year.
Good afternoon. There's another fellow, my clerk, with 15 shillings a week, a wife and family talking about Merry Christmas. I'll retire to Bedlam.
Scrooge and Molly's, I believe. Have I the pleasure of addressing Mr. Scrooge or Mr. Marley?
Mr. Marley has been dead these 7 years. He died 7 years ago this very night.
We have no doubt his generosity will be respected by his former partner.
At this festive season of the year, Mr. Scrooge, it is more than usually desirable that we should make some slight provisions for the poor and destitute, who suffer greatly at the present time. Many thousands are without common necessaries. Why, hundreds of thousands are without common comforts, sir.
Are there no prisons?
Plenty of prisons.
And the union workhouses, are they still in operation?
They are.
Still, I wish I could say they were not.
The treadmill and the poor law?
Both very busy, sir.
I'm glad to hear it.
They scarcely furnish Christian cheer of mind or body to the multitudes.
Some of us are trying to raise some money in order to give the poor some meat and drink and some source of warmth.
Yes, we choose this time because it is a time of all others when one does gaily
to be left alone. Since you ask what I wish, ladies, that is my answer. I can't afford to, I don't make merry myself at Christmas, and I can't afford to make idle people merry. The establishments I have mentioned cost enough. I contribute to them. Those who are badly off, let's go there.
Well, some of them can't, and some of them would rather die.
If they would rather die, they had better do it and decrease the surplus population. Besides, it is not my business. It is enough for a man to understand his own business and not to interfere with other people's. Mine occupies me constantly. Good afternoon.
Meanwhile, fog and darkness thickened, so the people ran about with flaring lamps, offering their services to go before horses and carriages and conduct them on their way. The cold became intense, foggier yet, and colder.
What are you doing there? Go away! Christmas carols. Bah!
At length, the hour for shutting up the counting house arrived.
I suppose you want all day tomorrow?
It's quite convenient, sir.
It is not convenient. It is not fair. If I was to stop half a crown for it, you'd think yourself ill-used, I'll be bound.
Yes, sir.
And yet you don't think me ill-used when I pay a day's wages for no work.
It's just once a year, sir.
A poor excuse for picking a man's pocket every 25th of December. But I suppose you must have the whole day. Be here all the earlier next morning.
I will, sir. I promise.
Scrooge ate his melancholy dinner in his usual melancholy tavern, and after reading all the melancholy newspapers, he beguiled the rest of the evening with his banker's book, and then went home to bed. The yard was so dark that even Scrooge, who knew every stone, had to grope them with his hand.
Now it is a fact that there is nothing at all particular about the knocker on the door, except that it was very large. And now, let any man explain to me, if he can, how it happened that Scrooge, having his key in the lock of the door, saw in the knocker not a knocker, but
Harley's face!
Scrooge looked fixedly on the phenomenon, and it became a knocker again.
Pooh. Pooh!
Scrooge fastened the door and went across the hall and up the stairs. But before he fastened his heavy door, he walked through his rooms to see that all was right. He had just enough recollection of the face to desire to do that.
Sitting room. Bedroom. Locker room.
All is well.
Nothing under the bed. Nothing in the closet.
Nothing in his dressing gown.
Quite satisfied, Scrooge locked himself in, which was not his custom. Thus secured against surprise, he took off his cravat. And he put on his dressing gown.
Take me for idiots, fools, all of them.
And he put on his slippers.
Humbug. Humbug, I say.
And his nightcap.
Every year, it's the same thing.
And he sat before the fire to take his gruel.
Humbug!
Scrooge threw his head back in the chair, and his glance happened to rest upon a bell. While looking, the bell began to swing. It swang so softly in the onset that it barely made a sound. But soon it rang loudly, and so did every bell in the house.
Scrooge remembered then that ghosts and haunted houses were described as driving trains.
It's still humbug! I won't believe it!
It came on through the heavy door and passed into the room before his very eyes. The same face, the very same.
Harley!
This is so cool.
The chain it drew was long and clasped around its middle. It was made of heavy purses and strong boxes and keys, padlocks, ledgers and deeds, all things wrought in steel.
Hello? What do you want with me?
Much.
Who are you?
Ask me who I was.
Who were you then?
In life, I was your partner, Jacob Marley. You don't believe in me.
I don't.
What evidence would you have of my reality beyond that of your own senses?
I don't know.
Why do you doubt your senses?
Because a little thing affects them. A slight disorder of the stomach makes them cheat. You may be under just a bit of beef, a blot of mustard, a crumb of cheese, a fragment of an underdone potato. There's more of gravy than grave about you, whatever you are. Mercy! Dreadful apparition! Why do you trouble me?
Do you believe in me or not?
I do. I must. But why do spirits walk the earth? And why do they come to me?
It is required of every man that the spirit in him should walk abroad among his fellow men and travel far and wide. And if that spirit goes not forth in life, it is condemned to do so after death.
You are fettered. Tell me why.
I wear the chain I forged in life. I made it link by link and yard by yard. Is its pattern strange to you? Or would you know the weight and length of the long coil you bear yourself? It is a ponderous chain.
Jacob, old Jacob Marley, speak comfort to me, Jacob.
I have none to give. I cannot rest. I cannot stay. I cannot linger anywhere. In life, my spirit never roved beyond the narrow limits of our money-changing home.
But you were always a good man of business, Jacob.
Business. Mankind was my business. Charity, mercy, forbearance, and benevolence were all my business. At this time of the year, I suffer most. Why did I walk through crowds of fellow beings with my eyes turned down, and never raise them to that blessed star which led the wise men to a stable? Were there no poor homes to which its light would have conducted me? Hear me, my time is nearly gone.
I will, but don't be hard upon me, Jacob.
I have sat invisible beside you many and many a day. I am here tonight to warn you that you have yet a chance in hope of escaping my fate. chance and hope arranged by me, Ebenezer.
You were always a good friend to me.
You will be haunted by 3 spirits.
I think I'd rather not.
Without their visits, you cannot hope to shun the path I tread. Expect the first tomorrow when the bell tolls 1.
Couldn't I take them all at once and have it over, Jacob?
Expect the second on the next night at the same hour. The third upon the next night when the last stroke of 12 has ceased to vibrate. Look to see me no more, and for your own sake, remember what has passed between us.
Scrooge became sensible of confused noises in the air, incoherent sounds of lamentation and regret. The air was filled with phantoms, all wearing chains like Marley's ghost. Misery with them always as they sought to interfere in human nature, but had lost the power forever.
Humbug!
And whether from the emotions he had undergone, or the lateness of the hour, or his glimpse of the invisible world, or the dull conversation of the ghost, Scrooge, being in much need of rest, went straight to bed without undressing, and fell instantly asleep.
Scrooge awoke. It was so dark he could scarcely distinguish the transparent window from the opaque walls of his room. The hour itself.
Are you the spirit whose coming was foretold to me?
I am.
Who and what are you?
I am the ghost of Christmas past.
Long past?
Your past.
What business brings you here?
Your welfare.
I am much obliged, but I cannot help thinking that a night of unbroken rest would be more conducive to that end.
Your reclamation, then. Take heed. Rise and walk with me.
But I am mortal and liable to fall.
Bear but a touch of my hand, and you shall be upheld in more than this.
As the words were spoken, they passed through the wall and stood on an open country road with fields on either hand. The city had entirely vanished. The fog and darkness had vanished with it, for it was a clear, cold winter's morning with snow upon the ground.
Good heavens! I was bred in this place. I was a boy here.
Scrooge became conscious of 1,000 odors floating in the air, each one connected to 1,000 thoughts and hopes and joys and cares long, long forgotten.
Your lip is trembling. And what is that upon your cheek?
Nothing. Lead me where you will.
You recollect the way?
Remember it. I can walk it blindfolded.
Strange to have forgotten it for so many years. Let us go on. They walked along the road, Scrooge recognizing every gate and post and tree, until a little market town appeared off in the distance, with its bridges, church, and winding rivers. Some shaggy ponies were seen trotting towards them, with boys upon their backs, who called to one another.
Ho! Robert! James!
These are but shadows of things that have been. They have no consciousness of us.
Why was he overcome with joy to see them and to hear them wish each other Merry Christmas? What was Merry Christmas to Scrooge? What good had it ever done to him?
Hey! Wait!
They left the high road of a well-remembered lane and approached the mansion of dull red brick. They went, the ghost and Scrooge, to a long, bare, melancholy room made bare still by rows of dull desks. At one of these desks, a small boy sat reading by a feeble fire.
Why, it's Ali Baba. It's dear old honest Ali Baba. One Christmas time, when this solitary child was left here all alone, he did come for the first time, just like that. Poor boy. But it's Robinson Crusoe. There's the parrot. There he is. Poor Robin Crusoe, he called him when he came home again after sailing round the island.
Poor Robin Crusoe,
Where have you been, Robin Crusoe? Poor child. Oh, I wish. But it's too late now.
What is the matter?
No, nothing. Nothing. There was a child singing a Christmas carol at my door last night. I should like to have given her something, that's all.
Let us see another Christmas.
The room became darker and dirtier. The panels shrunk, the windows cracked, and plaster fell from the ceiling. There he was, alone again, when all the other boys had gone home for the jolly holidays.
Dear brother! Oh, I've come to bring you home, dear brother! To bring you home, home! Oh, yes, home, for good and all, forever and ever. Father's so much kinder than he used to be. That home's like heaven. He spoke so gentle to me one night when I was going to bed. I was not afraid to ask him once more if you might come home. And he said, yes, you should. He sent me in a coach to bring you. And you are to never come back here. We're to be together all the Christmas long and have the merriest time in all the world.
Ah, she was quite a woman.
Always a delicate creature whom a breath might have withered, but she had a large heart.
So she had.
She died a young woman and had, as I think, children.
One child.
True. Your nephew.
Yes.
We were now in the busy thoroughfares of the city. It was Christmas time again, and it was evening, and the city streets were all lit up.
Do you know this warehouse in London town?
I was apprenticed here. Wait, here too, Fezziwig. Here, bless his heart, it's Fezziwig alive again.
Yo ho there! Ebenezer! Dick, yo ho, my boys. No more work tonight. Christmas Eve, Dick. Christmas, Ebenezer. Let's have these shutters up before a man can say Jack Robinson.
You should have seen how those two fellas went at it. They ran out into the street with the shutters. 1, 2, 3. Had them up in their places. 4, 5, 6. Barred them and pinned them. 7, 8, 9. And came rushing back before you could count 10, panting like racehorses.
Giddy ho! Clear away, my lads. Let's make lots of room here. Giddy ho, Dick. Jab, Ebenezer.
It was done in a minute.
Every movable thing was packed away as if it were dismissed from public life forevermore. There were Christmas greens, Chinese lanterns, candles, and a Yule log.
In came a fiddler with a music book and went up to the lofty desk and tuned like 50 stomach aches.
In came Mrs. Fezziwig, as being Miss Fezziwig, beaming and lovable, and 6 young men whose hearts they broke.
Then in came all the young men and women of business. There was the housemaid, the milkman, the baker, and the cook.
There were dances and there were games.
And more dances! And there was cakes, and there was a great cold roast, mince pies, and plenty of beer.
Hey!
But the great effect came when the fiddler struck up Sir Roger de Coverley.
stations on either side of the door, shaking hands with everyone and wishing them a Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas.
Do we know her?
Oh, Merry Christmas, Ebenezer.
Merry Christmas, Ebenezer.
Merry Christmas, Ebenezer.
Merry Christmas, Ebenezer.
A small matter to make these silly folks so full of gratitude.
Small?
Why is it not? He has spent but a few pounds of your mortal money, 3 or 4 perhaps. Is that so much that he deserves this praise?
Tisn't that, Spirit. Hey, he had the power to render us happy or unhappy, to make our service light or burdensome, pleasure or toil. Hey, the happiness he gives is as great as the cost of fortune.
What is the matter?
Nothing particular.
Something, I think.
No. I should like to be able to say a word or two to my clerk just now, that's all.
My time here grows short. Look.
Scrooge saw himself, older now, a man prime in life. He had not the harsh and rigid lines of later years.
But it had begun to show the signs of care and avarice. There was an eager, greedy, restless look in the eyes that showed the passion that had taken root.
To you it matters little. Very little. Another idol has displaced me. But if it could cheer and comfort you in time to come, as I would have tried to do, I have no just cause to grieve.
And what idol has displaced you?
A golden one.
This is the even-handed dealing of the world. There is nothing on which it is so hard as poverty. And nothing it condemns with such severity as the pursuit of wealth.
You fear the world too much. I have seen your nobler aspirations fall off one by one, until the master passion greed engrosses you, have I not?
What then? Even if I have grown so much wiser, I'm not changed towards you, am I?
Our contract is an old one. It was made when we were both poor, and content to be so, until in good season we could improve our worldly fortune by our patient industry. You have changed. When it was made, you were another man.
I was a boy.
Your own feeling tells you that you are not what you were. I am. That which promised happiness when we were one is now fraught with misery now that we are two. How often and how keenly have I thought of this, I will not say. It is enough that I have thought of it and can release you.
Have I ever sought release?
In words? No, never.
In what then?
In a changed nature. In an altered spirit. In everything that made my love of any worth or value in your sight. Tell me, if this had never been between us, would you seek me out and try to win me now? No,
You think not?
I would surely think otherwise if I could. Heaven knows. But if you were free today, tomorrow, yesterday, would you choose a poor girl? You, who weigh everything by gain. If for a moment you were false enough to your one guiding principle to do so. Do I not know that your repentance and regret would surely follow? I do, and I release you.
Say something.
You may have pain in this. Half what makes me hope you live. A very, very brief time, which you will dismiss the recollection of as an unprofitable dream from well that you awoke. May you be happy in the life you have chosen.
Say something. Spirit, whether you delight to torture me, show me no more.
I told you, these are shadows of things that have been. They are what they are. Do not blame me.
Scrooge was conscious of being exhausted and overcome with an irresistible drowsiness, and further, of being in his own bedroom, and barely had time to reel to bed before he sank into a heavy sleep.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is our 15-minute intermission.
That's right. That's right.
Ebenezer Scrooge! I am the ghost of Christmas present. Look upon me. You have never seen the like of me before.
Ever, Spirit, conduct me where you will. I went forth last night on compulsion, and I learnt a lesson which is working now. Tonight, if you have aught to teach me, let me profit by it.
Whoa!
Touch my robe.
They stood on the street on Christmas morning, the shops still half open, radiant in their glory. There were pears and apples, clustered high in gleaming pyramids.
And there are bunches of grapes hanging from conspicuous hooks that people's mouths may water as they pass.
There were piles of filberts, mossy and brown, recalling in their fragrance ancient walks among the woods. Everything was good to eat, and in its Christmas dress.
But the customers were all so hurried and eager with the hopeful promise of the day that they bumped into each other at the door and left their packages upon the counter and came running back to fetch them.
The sight of these poor revelers seemed to interest Spirit very much, for he stood with Scrooge in a baker's doorway and sprinkled incense on their dinners. But it was a certain kind of incense, one that was used only once or twice when there were angry words among dinner carriers.
where you're going, Reed. We shouldn't quarrel on Christmas Day. So it is. God love it is. Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas.
Is there a peculiar flavor in what you sprinkle on them?
There is. It is my own.
Will it apply to any kind of dinner on this day?
To any kindly given, to a poor one the most.
Why to a poor one most?
Because it needs it most.
And perhaps it was the pleasure the good spirit had in showing off this power of his, or else it was his own kind, generous, hearty nature, and his sympathy for all poor men that led him straight to Scrooge's clerks. And there, on the threshold of the door, the spirit smiled and stopped to bless Bob Cratchit's dwelling.
Then up rose Mrs. Cratchit, dressed out, but poorly, in a twice-turned gown, brave in ribbons, which were cheap, but a goodly show of sixpence. She laid the cloth. Then came two young Cratchits, a boy and a girl, and they came tearing in, screaming. They smelt the goose outside of the baker's and known it as their own.
Whatever is keeping Father and Tiny Tim? And Martha wasn't as late last Christmas Day by half an hour.
Here's Martha, Mother.
Why, bless your heart alive, my dear. How late you are.
Me deal of work last night and had to clear away this morning, Mother.
Never mind, so long as you are here.
And then came Bob, Father, with at least 3 feet of comforter, exclusive of fringe, hanging down before him, and his threadbare clothes donned up and brushed to look seasonable, and taking Tiny Tim by the hand. Alas, Tiny Tim, he bore a little crutch, and had his limbs supported in an iron frame.
And how did little Tim behave?
Oh, as good as gold and better. Somehow, he gets thoughtful sitting alone so much and thinks the strangest things you've ever heard. He told me.
I hope people saw me in church because I'm a cripple. It might be pleasant to them to remember on Christmas Day who made lame beggars walk and blind men see.
Bob compounded a hot mixture in a jug with gin and lemons, and stirred it round and round, and set it on the hob to simmer.
The two young Cratchits went to go fetch the goose, with which they soon returned in high procession.
Miss Cratchit made the gravy hissing hot.
And Martha sweetened up the applesauce.
At last, the dishes were set upon. Grace was said, followed by a silent pause.
Miss Cratchit, looking slowly all along the carving knife, prepared to plunge it in the breast. And when she did, the long-expected gush of stuffing issued forth.
There never was such a goose. Its tenderness and flavor, size and cheapness were the themes of universal admiration.
Eked out by a bit of applesauce and mashed potatoes, it was sufficient for the entire family.
In half a minute, Miss Cratchit entered with the pudding, like a speckled cannonball, so hard and firm, blazing in half a pint of ignited brandy, bedight with Christmas holly stuck into the top.
What a wonderful pudding! I regard it as the greatest success achieved by Miss Cratchit since our marriage.
Now the weight is off my mind. I had doubts about the quantity of flour.
Everybody had something to say about it. But nobody said or thought it was a small pudding for a large family.
It would have been heresy to do so.
Any Cratchit would have blushed at hint at such a thing.
There's nothing of high mark about this. They're not a particularly handsome family. They're not well dressed. Their shoes are far from waterproof. Their clothing is scanty. But they are happy, grateful, pleased with one another, and contented in their time.
At last the dinner was done, the cloth was cleared, the hearth swept, and the fire made up. Apples and oranges were laid upon the table, and a shovelful of chestnuts upon the fire.
Bob served hot stuff from the jug, while the chestnuts on the fire sputtered and cracked noisily. Merry Christmas to us, my dears. God bless us.
God bless us, everyone.
Spirit, tell me if Tiny Tim will live.
I see an empty seat in the poor chimney corner, and a crutch without an owner, carefully preserved. If these visions are not changed in the future, the child will die.
No, kind spirit, say he will be spared.
If these visions are not changed in the future, the child will die, and none of my kind will find him here again. What then? If he be well to die, he'd better do it, and decrease the surplus population.
He had better do it and decrease the surplus
He had
population.
better do it to decrease the surplus population.
And decrease
He
the
had better do it.
surplus population.
And decrease the surplus population.
Man, if man ye be at heart, forbear that wicked cant until you know what the surplus is and where it is. Are you to decide what man shall live and what shall die? It may well be in the eyes of heaven that you are no more worthy to live and more fit to die than the millions like this poor man's child.
Now, to the founder of our feast, a Merry Christmas to Mr. Scrooge.
The founder of the feast, indeed. I wish I had him here. I'd give him a piece of my mind to feast upon, and I hope he'd have a good appetite for it.
My dear, the children, Christmas Day.
It should be Christmas Day, I am sure, on which one drinks the health of such an odious, hot, stingy, unfeeling man as Mr. Scrooge. You know he is, Robert. Nobody knows more than you do, poor fellow.
My dear, Christmas Day.
Christmas Day, Mama.
Very well. I will drink to his sake, for your sake, in the day, not for his. A long life to him. Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. He'll be very merry, very happy. I have no doubt.
To Mr. Scrooge.
Merry Christmas, Mrs. Scrooge.
By now it is growing dark and snowing pretty heavily, and as Scrooge and the Spirit went along the streets, the brilliance of the roaring fires in the kitchens, parlors, and all sorts of rooms was wonderful. And now, without a word of warning from the ghost, they stood upon a bleak and desert moor, where monstrous masses of crude stone were cast about, as though it were the burial place of giants.
What place is this?
'Tis a place where miners live, who labor in the bowels of the earth. But they know me. See?
And there was a cheerful company sitting along a glowing fire. There was an old man and woman, their children, and their children's children, and the next generation after that, all decked out gaily in their holiday attire. Now the old man, whose voice that never rose above the howling winds of the barren marsh, was singing them a Christmas song.
The Spirit did not tarry here, but bade Scrooge hold his road, and passing on above the moor, they sped to sea. Above the dark and heaving sea, they lighted on a ship. They stood beside the helmsman at the wheel, the lookout in the bow, the officers who had the watch. Dark, ghostly figures in their several stations. But every man among them hummed a Christmas tune, or had a Christmas thought, or spoke below his breath to his companion of some bygone Christmas day.
Much they saw, and far they went. The spirits stood beside sickbeds, and they were cheerful on foreign lands, but they were close at home. By poverty, and it was rich, by struggling men who were patient in their greater hope. an almshouse, hospital, and jail. In misery's every refuge, the Spirit left his blessing.
Harry, my time grows near.
Spirit's life so short?
Yes. My time on this globe is brief indeed. It ends tonight.
Tonight?
Tonight at midnight. Hark. The hour grows near. Oh, man. Look there!
A boy. A girl.
Ragged, scowling.
Wolfish.
But prostrate in their humility.
Where graceful youth should have filled their features out.
A stale and shriveled hand had pinched and twisted and pulled them into shreds. Where angels might have sat enthroned, devils lurked.
Spirit, are they yours?
They are man's. This boy is ignorance. This girl is want. And doom is written across their brow, unless that writing be erased.
Have they no refuge or resource?
Are there no prisons? Are there no workhouses?
Are there no prisons? Are there no workhouses?
Are there no workhouses?
Are there no workhouses?
Are there no workhouses?
No. No! You are the ghost of Christmas yet to come? You are about to show me shadows of the things that have not happened, but will happen in the time before us. Is that so, Spirit? Ghost of the future, I fear you more than any specter I have seen, but as I know your purpose is to do me good, and as I hope to live to be another man from what I was, I am prepared to bear you company and do it with a thankful heart. Will you not speak to me? Lead on, Spirit.
No, I don't know much about it either way. I only know he's dead.
Oh, when did he die?
Last night, I believe.
Oh, well, what had happened to him? I thought he'd never die.
God only knows.
Well, what has he done with his money?
I haven't heard. Left it to his company, perhaps. He hasn't left it to me, that's all I know. It's likely to be a very cheap funeral from on my line. I can't think of anybody to go. Oh, suppose we make up a party and volunteer.
Well, I wouldn't mind going if lunch is provided. I must be fed.
Well, I'm the most disinterested among all of you. For I never wear black gloves. And I never eat lunch. Come to think of it, I'm not sure I wasn't his most particular friend. But we would stop and speak whenever we met.
No.
We left the busy scene and went into an obscure part of town where Scrooge had never been before. The streets were narrow and dirty. The people drunken, slipshod, and ugly. The whole quarter reeked of crime, filth, and misery.
We couldn't have been in a better place.
Every person has the right to take care of themselves. We always did. True words ever spoke. Who's the loss for a few things like this? Not a dead man, I suppose. If you wanted to keep him after he was dead, wicked old Screw, why wasn't he natural in his lifetime?
he had been, he would have had somebody look after him when he was struck with death, instead of lying there, gasping out his last breath. Oh, I can tell.
Judgment on him, I say. Come on, Joe, let's open up the sack and put head and strings.
Okay. A seal or two, a pencil case, a pair of sleeve buttons, and a brooch. No real doubt.
Come on, Joe, there's onions and towels in there. How about the silver teaspoons and teeth? And a pair of silver tongs for sugar, along with a nice pair of boots, fine boots, good boots.
I always give too much to the ladies. It's a weakness of mine. It's how I ruin myself. That's your account. You ask for a penny more and make it an open question, and I'll reduce it by half a crown. Bed curtains?
I bed curtains.
You don't mean to say you took them down, rings and all, when he blind there?
Oh, yes,
In his blankets.
Who else you think? It ain't like you're gonna get gold.
Well, I hope he didn't die of nothing catching.
You can look through that shirt till your eyes ache, but you won't find a hole in it or a threadbare place. It's the best we had, and a fine one too. They wasted it if it hadn't been for me.
What do you mean wasting it?
Putting it on them to be buried. But I took it off again. And calico ain't good enough for such a purpose. It ain't good enough for anything. It's just quite becoming to the body. It ain't gonna be any uglier than it did in that.
They sat gathered around their spoils in the scanty light afforded by the old man's lamp, as though they were obscene demons marketing the corpse itself.
Aha! This is the end of it, you see. He frightened everyone away from him when he was alive to profit us when he was dead.
Spirit, I see. The case of this unhappy man may be my own. My life tends that way now. Spirit, this is a fearful place. In leaving it, I will not leave its lesson, trust me. Let us go. Let me see some tenderness connected with her death. For that dark chamber spirit which we left just now will be forever present to me.
The black, it hurts my eyes, but they're better now again. Makes them weak by candlelight, and I wouldn't show weak eyes to your father when he gets home for all the world. It must be near his time.
Past it, rather. I think he's walked a little slow these past few evenings, Mother.
I have known him to walk with Tiny Tim upon his shoulders very fast indeed. But he was so very light to carry. Your father loved him, so it was no trouble. No trouble.
Bob was cheerful and spoke kindly to all the family. He looked at the work upon the table and praised the industry and speed of Mrs. Cratchit and the girls.
You'll be done long before Sunday.
You went today to see them dig it?
Yes, my dear. I wish you could have gone. It would have done you good to see how green a place it is. But you'll see it often. I promised him I would walk there on a Sunday. My little child. My little child.
Don't be grieved, Father.
They gathered around a fire to talk. The girls and mother continued working.
I met Mr. Scrooge's nephew in the street today. And seeing that I looked a little down, young Master Scrooge inquired as to what had distressed me. I told him. I'm heartily sorry for it, Mr. Cratchit, and heartily sorry for your good wife. By the by, how we ever knew that, I'll never know.
Knew what, my dear?
Why, that you are such a good wife.
Everyone knows that.
Very well observed, my boy. I hope they do. Heartily sorry for your good wife. If I can be of service to you in any way, he said, giving me his card. That's where I live. Pray come to see me. Now, it wasn't for the sake of anything that he might do for us, so much as for his own kind way, that it made this quite delightful. It really seemed as if he had known Tiny Tim and felt with us.
I'm sure he's a good soul.
Oh, you can be sure of it, my dear. If you saw and spoke to him, I shouldn't at all be surprised if you got Peter a better situation.
Only hear that, Peter.
And then Peter will be keeping company with some girl and setting up for himself.
Oh, get along with you.
Get along with you.
It's just as likely as not one of these days, though there's plenty of time for that. But whenever and however we part from one another, I know we shall none of us forget our Tiny Tim, shall we? Or this first parting there was among us.
No, Father.
And I know that when we recollect on how patient and mild he was, although he was only a little child, we will not quarrel so easily amongst ourselves and forget Tiny Tim in doing it.
No.
Never, Father.
Spectre, something informs me that our parting moment is at hand. I know it, but I know not how. This port through which we hurry now is where my place of occupation is, and has been for a length of time. I see the house. Let me behold what I shall be in days to come.
Scrooge hastened to the window of his office window and looked in. It was an office still, but not his. The furniture was not the same. The figure in the chair was not himself. The phantom pointed as before.
Scrooge joined it and accompanied it to an iron gate, a churchyard, a tombstone.
Before I draw any nearer to that stone to which you point, answer me one question. Are these the shadows of the things that will be, or are they the shadows of the things that may be?
Scrooge crept forward and read upon the stone.
Ebenezer Scrooge! No! 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 Spirit, hear me! I am not the man I was. I will not be the man I must have been. Why show me this if I have lost all hope? Good Spirit, show me that I yet may change these shadows you have shown me by an altered life. I will honor Christmas in my heart and try to give it all the year.
knees. I don't know what to do. I'm as light as a feather. I'm as happy as an angel. I'm as merry as a schoolboy. I'm as giddy as a drunken man. Merry Christmas to everybody. Happy New Year to all the world. Hello there. Hello. What's today?
What?
What's today, my fine fellow?
Today? Why, Christmas Day.
It's Christmas Day. I haven't missed it. The spirits have done it all in one night. Hello, my fine fellow. Do you know the poulterers in the next street corner?
I should hope I did.
Oh, do you know whether they've sold the prize turkey that was hanging up there? Not the little prize turkey, the big one.
What, the one as big as me?
Yes, my buck.
They're taking that out.
It is. Go and buy it.
Go buy a turkey? Oh, right.
No, I'm in earnest. Go and buy it, bring it back, I'll give you a shilling. Bring it back in less than 5 minutes, and I'll give you half a crown. I shall send it to Bob Cratchit. He shan't know who sent it. Hey, it's twice the size of Tiny Tim. The misty merry gentleman. Nothing you dismay. Remember Christ of Saviors was born on Christmas Day. Tidings of comfort and joy. Comfort and joy. Oh, tidings of comfort and joy.
Scrooge walked downstairs and opened the street door, coming waiting of the turkey. He noticed the knocker again.
I shall love it as long as I live. I scarcely ever looked at it before. What an honest expression it has on its face. It's a wonderful knocker.
But now the people of the city were pouring forth, eager to share in the holiday spirit. Scrooge had not gone far before he beheld, coming on towards him, the gentlewoman who had walked into his counting house the day before.
Ah! Hi, good woman, how do you do?
Mr. Scrooge?
Yes, that is my name. Though I fear it may not be pleasant to you. Allow me to ask your pardon, and will you do me the goodness of accepting a donation in the amount of...
Mr. Scrooge, you can't be serious.
Yes, if you please, and not a farthing less. A great many back payments are included in it, I assure you. Will you do me a favor?
How can I thank you for such a generous donation?
Not another word, please. Come and see me. Will you come and see me?
I will.
Oh, thank you. I am much obliged to you. I thank you 50 times.
Thank you.
Oh, bless you.
Bless you.
Scrooge turned his steps towards his nephew's house. He passed the door a dozen times before he had the courage to go up and knock. But he made a dash and did it.
Bless my soul. Well, who's this?
It is I, your Uncle Scrooge. I've come to dinner. May I come in?
May you come in? With much pleasure for me. Everyone come, you my Uncle Scrooge.
Oh, it was a wonderful party, wonderful games, wonderful happiness. Father Scrooge was early to the office next morning. If he could get there early and catch Bob coming in late, that is what he had his heart set upon. And he did it. Yes, he did. 9 o'clock.
No law. What do you mean by coming here at this time of day?
Hey, sorry, sir. I'm behind my time.
You are? Hey, yes, I think you are. Step this way, sir, if you please.
It's just once a year, sir. It won't be repeated. I was making rather merry yesterday.
Now I'll tell you what, my friend. I am not going to stand for this sort of thing any longer. And therefore, I'm about to raise your salary. Merry Christmas, Bob. Merrier Christmas, Bob, than I've given you for many a year. I will raise your salary and endeavor to assist your struggling family. And we will discuss your affairs this very afternoon. Now go make up the fires and boil in the coal scuttle before you dot another I, Bob Cratchit.
Scrooge was better than his word. He did it all and infinitely more. And to Tiny Tim, who did not die, and to the Cratchit family,
He was a second father. And he became as good a friend.
He became as good a friend.
As good a master.
As good a master.
And as good a man.
As good a man.
As any the good old city had ever knew. Or any other good old city, town, or borough in this good old world.
And it was said of him that he knew how to keep Christmas well, if any man alive possessed the knowledge. May that be truly said of us, and all of us.
And as Tiny Tim observed,
Oh, God bless us, everyone.
God bless us.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, before we leave, we're going to stay upstage for any pictures. We're going to get a group picture real quick. So if y'all would like to take a picture, give us just a little bit.
All right.